Well, most of the world has been spared from seeing firsthand the horrific aftermath of the October 7 attacks, when Hamas tortured, raped and murdered over 1,000 innocent civilians in Israel. But for those who have been on the ground, it can only be described as harrowing. Terrorism expert and former US presidential envoy Marshall Billingslea just spent a week at the site of the massacre, and he says after decades in counter-terrorism, he's never seen anything as barbaric. Marshall, thank you so much for your time. What did you see?
Aaron, it's good to be with you. I wish it were under happier circumstances. But yes, we, three of us from the previous Trump administration had the opportunity to visit Israel for discussions with the government, as well as with a number of former government officials and NGOs, think tanks, and so on. Part of our visit was both to the south and opposite of Gaza, where fighting is ongoing and was ongoing while we were there. And we also visited the border with Lebanon in the north, which I can also speak to. But the bottom line is the atrocities committed by really three different waves of Hamas operatives and Palestinians who came in behind the attacks to loot, truly horrific. These poor, truly innocent people were caught sleeping. They attacked very early in the morning. They knew exactly where they were going and who they were out to kill because they had used Palestinian workers who had been provided work permits to work in the kibbutz. They'd use them as spies to map out the locations, which houses had, where were the safe rooms on the houses, which houses had weapons, where the bunkers and the armories were. So they went in on a hunting expedition to commit genocide.
Groups like ISIS, you use the word barbaric, they are barbaric to the extreme. We've seen so many atrocities committed in their name. What made this the worst that you've seen? What particular element of it?
It's actually very, very similar to the way Daesh, ISIS behaved, and the sheer scale of the atrocities. I mean, they killed more than 1,200 people, and then took several hundred hostage. But the nature of the killing, the rape, the murder of babies and kindergartners, the summary execution of elderly, the torching of bodies beyond recognition to the point where, in some cases, people could only be identified by a tooth, and the gleefulness with which they went about the murder. I would say I sat through a 47-minute video that the Israeli Defense Forces have compiled from hours and hours and hours of terrorist GoPro videos, cell phone videos, videos of the victims themselves as they're hiding in dumpsters or hiding in safe rooms. Most did not survive. CCTV footage, dash cam footage, I mean, you name it, as well as signals intelligence intercepts from phone calls of Hamas terrorists calling their parents and gleefully celebrating about the fact that they just murdered 2 or 5 or 10, they called them Israeli dogs, and to hear the parents cheering them on with jubilation. To see the footage, some of which has been posted on the internet, to see the footage of how both prisoners and corpses were then taken into Gaza and treated by the quote-unquote civilians. It really, you use that word, Aaron, you use the word harrowing. That's really the case.